Most coaches never realize that the skills that got them to 10K a month aren't going to be the same ones that get them to 50K a month. Here's what I mean. Right now, you're the lead generator, the salesperson, the marketing person, and the fulfillment expert. You built yourself a high-paying job that's now become your prison because it's completely reliant on you. You're stuck on the revenue roller coaster, sending cold DMs and cold Loom videos, and you're chained to a calendar of complete unqualified prospects. The journey from 10K a month to 50K a month isn't about just working harder. It's about becoming an architect. In this video, I'm going to show you the 5 things that 50K a month coaches have implemented inside of their business and the systems they use that the 10K coaches know nothing about. This is going to take you from an operator whose business growth is completely tied to your manual effort versus someone who's a CEO and a business owner who's working on the business instead of inside of the business. This is going to allow you to make much more money, have more time freedom, and allow you to scale your business much faster. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. At 10K a month, you're not bad at business. You're just stuck in the operator's prison, meaning you're relying on referrals and manual outreach. You're dealing with unqualified prospects and jumping on calls with them. You're doing everything inside of the business yourself, and because of that, your income is a roller coaster. One month it's phenomenal, the next month it all comes crashing down and you have no idea where your next client is coming from. And also on top of that, you have no idea what kind of content you should be creating in order to actually attract high-ticket clients. The money is a big issue because if you have a great offer and market potential, you aren't just, leaving 40K on the table. You're actively choosing to burn that $40,000 because you're not having systems and processes and people in place in order to actually get you to 50,000. It's very, very manageable and reasonable for you to get there, but because you don't have the infrastructure in place, you're just essentially burning that money. And you see, the problem isn't even the money. It's actually the time cost. And I know that because I was there, where you're wasting time, like you're wasting 10 plus hours a week on calls with people who are never ready to buy. They're telling you it's too expensive. I need to talk to my wife. This is all time that you could be spending with your family, resting and recouping, or investing into something that actually scales. See, the business that you built for the aspect of freedom at $10,000 a month has now become your prison because, if you get sick or if you want to take a vacation or step away, the business dies, especially if you're the one that's doing all the manual outreach yourself, where you're spending 3 to 4 hours every single day cold reaching out to people on LinkedIn, sending cold DMs, sending cold emails. All of that is tied to you. At 50K a month, you now built systems and processes in place where your business is no longer a trap that I'm actually going to go over right now so that you'll be able to get there, especially after this video. For me, I know the story very, very well. For those that don't know me, I started Freighter Media. I was overworked, underpaid, and had no real systems in place, and I never actually knew where my next client was coming from. I was doing all the manual outreach myself, cold DMing, I was trying cold emails. Nothing really seemed to work until I narrowed down these 5 things, and I'm about to break it down right now. So the 5 things that you need to go from a $10,000 a month coach to a $50,000 a month coach. Let's break it down. Number 1 is you need to build an irresistible offer. The issue is with 10K a month coaches, their offer is extremely vague. Where one time I had this client who was he was a life coach and a communications coach. And I would ask him, what's the transformation that you do for people? Like, well, what are people paying you for? He's like, oh, well, just to, have better public speaking. Like, that's not strong enough, dude. Like, that's what's going to keep you at $10,000 a month. What you need in order to scale to $50,000 a month is people want certainty. People aren't just paying for coaching. They're paying for a transformation, as opposed to 8 weeks of just life coaching or business coaching, or, I can help you scale your business. It's like, no, 20 book calls in 30 days. I can help you lose 15 pounds in 90 days. Whatever that is, make it really like solve that urgent problem and try your best to almost guarantee a transformation where, like, if they follow your systems and your processes and they follow it to a T, that there's no way that they don't hit the ultimate goal that they want. And you see, in order to create an irresistible offer, you need a few things. Number 1 is you need social proof that actually shows that you can do what you can do, right? So that's testimonials. And the way that you want to do this is you want to take the testimonials that aren't just testimonials. You want to take the ideal prospect that you ultimately have. Like, what are their pain points? What kind of dream life that they want? What are the issues that maybe they started out with when they first started working with you? And those are the ones that you want to highlight, right? So you want to highlight the ones that other people can see themselves in. Number 2 is you want to figure out what value that ultimately sets you apart from your competition. Before I, started working with coaches, I still have my content agency, right? Freighter Media. And for me, one of the things that set me apart was the fact that I managed social media from Mike Tyson, Brendan Schaub, Steven Crowder, Mark Sanchez, and a ton of other celebrities. And that really set me apart because I have all of this experience. And for you, it could be anything as simple as, hey, I have a really good personal brand, or I have a really, loyal and great community, and I'm providing value online every single day on my socials. And that is something that people can look at and say, you know what? these two offers are the same, but this guy has a very valuable personal brand and he's putting out content and he seems extremely knowledgeable. I'm going to go and work with him. That is the value that could set you apart. Maybe there's something deeper than that, but whatever that is, just figure that out. And number 3, you clearly want to communicate outcomes and timelines. So this kind of goes back to the social proof, but ultimately prospects want to see the decision as a no-brainer. It's like, okay, well, working with Gary, it's guaranteed that I at least double my revenue in the next 6 months, right? Or if I work with Gary, I'm a busy mom that's going to lose 15 pounds with Gary's system in the next 60 days. Whatever that looks like, really communicate the outcomes and the timeline. That way you and the prospect know what ultimately to expect. And again, once you have all these 3 things, a clear offer hits much harder, it converts better, and it builds instant trust. Number 2 is strategic content. A lot of the coaches and consultants that I talk to, they don't know what to post online. They try to go viral. They try to post lifestyle stuff. They try to post, their thoughts about current events. All these things aren't going to build trust, or at least they're not going to convert your target demographic, okay? So what we've mastered at Freighter Media is really targeting the 4 parts of your ICP's brain, right? So the pain, the trust, the logic, and the emotion, okay? So this is where we create pain point specific content that speaks directly to your ICP and the problems that they're currently experiencing, okay? On my Instagram, by the way, you guys are welcome to follow me. This is where I talk and give advice to coaches and in a short form way in 30 to 60, 90 seconds, as opposed to these long form videos. So go check out my content over there. It should be really, really helpful for you. But, as far as just overall content, the reason why you don't want to go viral, quote unquote viral, is because that appeals to a very, very broad audience. Instead, you really want to turn your social media profiles into essentially a high converting sales asset, where your content is surgically designed to speak directly to the pain points of your ideal client. And that way you prove that you're the sole authority in that space and you build trust with them, and they feel like you understand their pain ultimately better than they can even understand it. What I mean by this is, have you ever had like a breakup or like a tough life situation and you spoke to a friend about it and you almost didn't know how to articulate it, but your friend articulated it very, very well, and you're like, that's exactly what I'm feeling. This is ultimately what I'm talking about, where you describe the pain to your, ICP to the point where they're like, yes, that is exactly what I'm experiencing. You know what I'm talking about. As far as viral content, the things that go viral are typically appealing to the lowest common denominator, okay? They're fights and conflicts, they're hot takes, usually related to politics, or, they're funny, stupid videos. But at the end of the day, this all appeals to a very broad and generic audience. And if you're a coach or a consultant selling a high-ticket service, a general audience is ultimately the enemy. Number 3, this is a really, really big one, okay? This is what a lot of people, it takes them forever to learn. Manual outreach versus an acquisition machine, okay? At $10K a month, you're still relying on random referrals, which are never consistent and are going to create a massive headache for you. 2, blasting cold DMs where you're, constantly reaching out to people and just essentially just hounding them and being like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Are you interested? The issue with those things is that they're time intensive and they're not scalable. And you have quality and mistake issues, meaning, if you're reaching out to people for 4 hours a day, there's a very likelihood that you misspell their name or you reach out to the wrong person by accident. And, that's just obviously makes you look bad. What 7-figure coaches ultimately have, and those, making 50K plus, is they have a machine that attracts, pre-sells, and pre-qualifies people. This is automated and scalable, meaning it's not reliant on your manual outreach every single day and your manual effort. The prospects come in a lot warmer and higher quality. And also you have predictable cash flow month after month. So that's the biggest headache that you ultimately need to solve in your business, is like, how am I ultimately getting clients? Because if you are struggling every single month with acquiring clients, well, then you cease to have a business, right? So this is how our system works. So number 1, it's organic content. This is pain point specific content that speaks directly to the pain points that our target demographic is ultimately facing and can relate to. I honestly have a whole YouTube video on what kind of content that you ultimately should be creating. So go check that out. I'm going to link it in the description below. Then we take the best performing organic piece of content and run 2 ads. Number 1 is going to be a follower ad that ultimately gets more people into your funnel, right? Looking at your profile, your Instagram profile, and they see your content and they're like, all right, this is super helpful. I can actually go and incorporate this myself. And when I say valuable content, can they actually take the advice that you laid out in your video, and can they go and actually implement it for themselves and actually see some sort of results? Then we run one to a VSL. So this is a video sales letter that I'm about to explain a little bit more in depth. And then pre-qualifying questions that ultimately filter out, any of the tire kickers and, people that don't belong. This is ultimately our client acquisition flywheel machine. If you want a more in-depth video on this where I dive into each specific portion, again, I'm going to link the videos in the description below so you can go check them out. So why a VSL and pre-qualifying questions? So this is what a VSL looks like, and this is what pre-qualifying questions look like. You can have these pre-qualifying questions and install them into your booking system with cal.com or Calendly. So go check that out. So 10K a month coaches are wasting time talking to anybody and spending their day essentially convincing these people on who they are, what service they offer, and they're doing a lot of educating on the call and very little actually, you're just essentially reaching out to people cold. And when they hop on the sales call, they almost don't even know why they're on that call. While 50K a month coaches, they let the VSL do the heavy lifting. The VSL shows the value, it handles any objections, it also builds a lot of trust because you're showing client testimonials and people that you've done this for. And then when you pair that up with the pre-qualifying questions, that's going to filter out anybody that is a bad fit. So you're filtering out people that can't afford your service, that are not ready to start ASAP, and maybe people that actually don't even know who you are. So any of the questions, if they answer as like a red flag, then they're not going to be a good fit for your service. The truth is that the VSL delivers a perfect pitch every single time. That way you don't need to pitch this manually every single time on a sales call, and the pre-qualifying questions just weed out anybody else that's a tire kicker and is not ready to invest ASAP. Again, that way you jump on the calls and you are like 90% ready to, you're 90% there ready to close. So last but not least, number 5, systems over hustle. So this is you right now at 10K a month. You're running around on this hamster wheel. Meanwhile, the 50K a month coaches are implementing SOPs, standard operating procedures, where they're writing everything down. They have a process in place for every single part of their business. That way, if they hire somebody new, they can hand that piece of paper off to somebody else. They can look at it and say, okay, this is what I need to do. Got it. Also, automating tasks, right? And utilizing AI. So this is a very simple thing that you could be doing with your mundane tasks, things that take a very long time, or just things that you feel like your time is, better well spent for something else. Look at your business, see what is it that I can actually automate, what tool out there that could replace this at literally a quarter of the cost or whatever it's ultimately going to cost you, because whatever amount you're going to pay for that AI tool, it's going to cost you that much more in time, because you could be taking more sales calls, you could be, doing other things in the business that's going to ultimately help it scale to a lot faster and a lot better. And again, ultimately, all of this is repeatable. It frees up your time, and that way you can ultimately achieve consistency. So really figure out how to build systems in your business. So again, in summary, the 10K coaches do everything themselves. Meanwhile, the 50K coaches build systems so that the business runs without them. SOPs, automations, the right tools that make sales, delivery, and marketing consistent and repeatable. This allows you to focus your time and energy on things that are going to require, you to have your focus completely there. So these are the 5 things that you need to do in order to go from a 10K a month coach to a 50K a month coach. And the good news is you don't have to figure out it all alone, okay? At Freighter Media, we build these machines, this client acquisition machine for you. We install it inside of your business. We do it with you and for you. That way, we also dial in, your offer to make sure that it's not vague. It's very, very specific. You're building a client acquisition machine that works for you 24/7. And we're also automating any parts that are mundane inside of your business that you do not need to be focusing on. That way you can focus on higher level tasks. So if you are tired of hustling month to month and actually want to build to $50,000 to $100,000 a month, click the link below to book a call. I have my pre-qualifying questions in there. So let's jump on a call. Let's see if you are the right fit for us to help you. And we would love to chat with you. Okay. So for the rest of you guys, check out the other videos on my channel. I think they're very, very helpful. Hopefully that helps, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.